Hi, I'm Tom Cosentino with the Garden State Wine Growers Association. Today we're at Heritage Vineyards in beautiful Mullica Hill, New Jersey, and we're going to be visiting with Bill and Penni Heritage and their winemaker, Sean Caminos, at the vineyard. Welcome to the At the Vineyard show. Bill and Penni Heritage, the owner of Heritage Vineyards here in beautiful Mullica Hill, New Jersey. Pleasure to be here and spend a day with you at the vineyard.
Thanks for having us.
Bill, this has been a family tradition for the Heritage family all the way back to what, 1853?
That's correct. Penni and I are fifth generation, and we have 3 sons, and they're sixth, and we also have a couple grandchildren now. So we had seventh generations already.
So for years, this was apples and peaches.
Yeah, apples and peaches were it. When I was a kid growing up, we grew apples and peaches, and we sent them to the local chain stores, and did that for many years. And my father retired, and it was time for us to find a new way for the farm. So Penni and I discovered wine grapes in 1999.
And you opened the vineyard here in 2001?
2001, yeah. Got our license, opened our vineyard. It was Chardonnay and Cabernet Franc to start with, and it was a great beginning.
Now, you're part of the Outer Coastal Plain. You're actually on the western slope of the Outer Coastal Plain. Tell us a little bit about the importance of this AVA.
This AVA is large. I think it's over 1 million square acres. But in our particular site here, we're very gravelly, sandy. Elevation is 200 feet, some rolling hills, and it's a little warmer. So it's close to the Delaware River, only about 15 miles, and the ocean's about 60 to the east of here.
Yeah,
so,
and you're talking about elevation. You have about 200 feet in one level where you have a vineyard planted here.
Yeah.
But you have vineyards in like 4 different locations on the property.
Oh, yeah. We have over 50 acres of vines planted here on our 150-acre farm, and we've placed them in what we feel is the correct part of the farm, based on if they're red wines or if they're going to be white wines or such.
And is that based on the growing seasons?
Growing seasons, exposure to the sun. We have south-facing slopes for our reds. We try to put our north slope with white wines, white grapes, and we use some hybrids also, Chamberson, and that's typically in a lower spot where it might get a little colder for here, because some of the vinifera that we grow are very cold sensitive. So,
now, Penni, how's it been for you? Growing up, seeing your children grow up at the vineyard here, and now they're part of it. Your son Eric and your son Richard are part of the winery operations.
It's been great. I started working here when I was in 11th grade, packing peaches. And
is that how you met?
That's how we met.
Yep.
We also met in high school, but he got me a job here, as a friend, and I never left.
Never left.
I started a farm market out here when I was 17 with peaches and apples, and we had a little strawberry patch. And having the kids grow up here has been wonderful. They all think that they want to move away, and as soon as they get away from the farm, they quickly realize, they want to come back.
What was it like when 1999 you make the decision? Okay, we're gonna start going into grapes. What went into your mentality? You're thinking of, what am I going to plant first? Or what's going to work here for me? Or what am I doing?
Right. Well,
getting into this.
We had most of what we needed. We had the land, we had the experience of growing perennials. We had facilities, but we just didn't know about the wine grapes. So we invested in some books and some different people, and Chardonnay and Cab Franc seemed to come to the top. They were the most cold hardy, just in case. That was our biggest concern, that cold was going to be a factor. But then once we got those going, the first year or two, and the fruit came off, it was obvious that those were going to be 2 of our main varieties from here on out. So we expanded to other, Merlot and Cab Sauv and Syrah, and some other
But the
things.
funny
too.
thing is we didn't really plan to be a winery. We planned to just go grow grapes.
and sell them to wineries.
Yeah, because at the time we had 70 or 80 acres of peaches. So we were looking for a crop that was later, that wouldn't interfere with peach season, that we could handle. But when that first crop came on, I said,
business.
we should get our license and we should do this.
And there you go. Like 10 years later, you're winery of the year.
Yeah.
And then you do it 2 more times in
Yeah.
2014 and 2015
Yeah.
in the competition, the New Jersey Wine Competition, which this year you won Best Sparkling Wine for your Brut. And that's a wine that's getting some really national acclaim.
Yeah. We had the Pinot Noir. We're big Pinot Noir fans, and of course we want to grow Pinot Noir. Everybody wants to grow Pinot Noir, but we quickly found it wasn't the right place for it. It's not for a still wine. But what we did find that we could pick it early, put some Chardonnay in with it, and make a pretty good sparkling wine out of that. So we're probably in our third batch right now, third different year of when we started. But the sparkling, it's just something. Sparkling never took off like the still wine market did when it all happened, back in 2000. But I think sparkling has got a future. It's not just for celebrations, the food that it matches up with is salty oysters, popcorn, potato chips, all kinds of other things. So I think sparkling could be something.
And we're going to talk to Sean Caminos, your winemaker, later. But that always fascinates me when I talk to vineyard owners too, is the experimentation. What goes into the planning stages. Okay,
Absolutely.
This has worked. What do we do next?
Yeah. So it's got to work first, though. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're just trying to be part of the wheel, and where do we fit? What spoke are we in the wheel? Per se. So I think New Jersey's now starting to carve out their own identity. It's always something we've always talked about. What is New Jersey's identity in the wine world? And all.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now we're finally starting to get a little feel for that.
And it still comes down to, you grew apples and peaches.
Oh, yeah.
It comes down to the fruit. It comes down to growing great fruit, great grapes.
Yeah.
You have to anybody can make Chardonnay, but you
got to have good fruit. Good fruit makes good wine.
Now, tell me a little bit about the whole process of, running a winery on a day-to-day basis, running a family, making these decisions, and then, deciding, okay, we're going to expand this place. We're going to do something different with the look of this, which is what you're working on now.
Yeah.
For me, it's a little different than Bill now. We used to always be together on the farm, but now with the winery and the winery kind of taking off, I find myself, I'm not in the field anymore like I used to be. Now I find myself in the office a lot, and I basically run the tasting room. So it's a whole different change for me. And that's basically what I do. I mean, I'm not in the field at all anymore. Bill's the field guy.
Yeah.
You hit the
the
challenges each day.
Yeah.
I'm out back. If you want to find me, you got to look out back most of the time. So.
Now tell us a little bit about we're going to film this later, but the contours of the land here. You have 200 feet high.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at a vineyard right outside of your tasting room here that's on flat ground.
Yep. We have some of that too, but as long as it's near a road or it has some slope to it, it appeals to me as a good vineyard site. The bottomland that's flatter tends to be a little too fertile for grapes, and plus on the cold nights, whether it be in the winter or the spring or the fall, that's where the frost and the cold settle. So there's a good chance that the vines could be damaged. So, but typically we don't have frost here too often. Maybe every other year or so. It's not a large factor for us, but obviously the investment into the vineyard is it's risky. So we try to be a little safer, a little more conservative.
Yeah, plus you're in a region too where you have a number of other wineries in the area, and that helps with drawing traffic to each one of your wineries.
No doubt. We need to cluster up even more. I think that if you come to our winery and you drink our wine, you need to go drink somebody else's wine and so forth. That's kind of one of my ultimate goals, is to create a clustered area here, a destination here in this part of South Jersey.
When somebody wants to become a new winery, are they thinking about doing it? They call Bill.
Mm-hmm.
They come here. Bill spends hours with them in the field. I mean, just on his own time. He doesn't charge them for it or anything. He wants to share all the information, and he wants everybody, to do well.
Right.
Yep.
To experience it all
Yep.
together.
Yep.
Because ultimately, and I know you're a big proponent of this, it's quality.
Yes.
Quality is going to raise the level of the perception of New Jersey wine.
Absolutely. The final product, that when our customers come in there and they drink the wine, that's the ultimate goal, is for them to enjoy that product, you know. And
Now you're expanding your tasting room. You have a beautiful area outside for people to sit, but then once a year you have a great festival here. That comes up in what, September?
Yeah, September 23rd and 24th. We have bands, we have vendors, we have 7 other wineries. We have a really awesome VIP area, and we cut our tickets off at 3,000 people per day. So we do, every Saturday sells out, and then Sunday there's usually a few extra tickets, but we do that. Tickets are only available online, but we do that just so that it's a comfortable atmosphere, so we're not overcrowded.
Overcrowded, right.
Yeah, but it's a great event.
Now I heard rumors that the name is going to change here. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the name Heritage Vineyards, it was our last name. We thought we wouldn't have any problem with it, but as we grow in the industry, we realized that we were not able to trademark heritage. So we were getting a little worried that we were building a brand that we were not able to trademark. So over the last 3 years, it's been our project. So we realized that we could trademark William Heritage. And we have 7 generations of William Heritage in the family. So
Keep that legacy. Now.
yeah, and
there
it
you
doesn't change so much that people won't recognize us. It's just, instead of Heritage, it's William Heritage. And we feel more comfortable, you know, moving on in the future with a name that's more trademarkable.
Right, right. Protects you.
Yeah, protects
Absolutely.
us.
Protects your brand.
Yep.
Yeah.
You put all this work into it and all, and then you have to change your name. It's
Yeah, it's tough.
It's
Yeah.
tough.
It's tough to
That's
do.
the best
You know,
way.
you build that identity,
Yep.
and then boom, it's
It's
gone.
really tough.
And
Of course,
then,
we're
you know,
farmers. We don't think about like marketing and trade marketing and all that.
no,
So-
but you have it on the
Growing.
bottle already. You go.
Oh
with
yeah,
the
we're just getting
WH,
started.
Yeah, with
Some
your,
of our
your
that's
rosé
our rosé
here and your unoaked Chardonnay.
Some of the first
we have
wines
some
to
new
come
gray
out.
hairs from the whole label change.
I can believe it. I'm dealing with licensing issues all the time, so I
yeah.
know what you mean. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you, William Heritage, Bill,
Thank you,
and
Tom.
Penny, for joining us on the At the Vineyard show, and continued success to you here at William Heritage Vineyard.
Right.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
for joining
Thank you.
us on At the Vineyard. With me now on the At the Vineyard show is the winemaker at Heritage Vineyards, Sean Caminos. Sean, welcome to At the Vineyard.
Thanks for having me.
Now, how does a young guy like you get into being a winemaker?
You know, in college, I didn't really have any aspirations of making wine.
Where was that?
I studied marine biology in the Virgin Islands, so it's
Wow.
sort of far removed from the wine industry, if you will. And I developed a passion for wine, you know, in my early 20s, and did a lot of traveling through Europe. And really, I think I was in Spain, and I decided, you know, this would be a cool, interesting business to get into, and you know, connect with the land and food and beverage industry and stuff like that.
How did you meet up with Bill?
You know, it's funny. I was studying at the Wine School of Philadelphia, not too far from here, and I was thinking about getting into wine sales and service, and possibly working for a distributor, or maybe a high-end wine shop, or sommelier in a fancy restaurant or something like that. And my mother doesn't live far from here at all, so I actually was driving by and I saw that there was a winery, and I came in and asked for a job, and they said no. I came back and they said no again. And then one day my phone rang, and they wanted me to come and work the wine bar, and that's how I got started here.
Oh, so it was a slow progress. How many years ago was that?
I started working here in June of 2008. And so I worked at the wine bar for 1 year, and I apprenticed in the winery, and I started making wine in the 2009 vintage here at Heritage.
Beautiful. And then right after that, you know, Winery of the Year in 2011, 14, and 15.
That's
so
correct,
that
yeah.
had to feel good about being part of that.
Yeah, we got great accolades for our 2009 vintage. When I was hired as winemaker, we brought on a consultant from the West Coast. His name was John Levenberg, and he had worked for Paul Hobbs and Cuvée San and a few wineries in Bordeaux and New Zealand, I believe. So he was sort of my mentor in the business and taught me most of what I know.
What was it like for you the first time that you actually opened the bottle of a wine that you'd made and poured yourself a glass and took a sip of that wine?
Well, it's interesting you asked that. You know, I told Richard Heritage when I started making wine here that I felt that we would have exceeded our goals if we made some wine we actually wanted to drink. So the first time we tasted the whites and the reds from 2009, I was quite pleased with what we had done. You know, I'm not a big interventionist, so I believe wine is made in the vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's the fruit. It's
it
all about
was
the fruit.
it was sort of emblematic of the fact that we were doing things correctly outside and sort of harnessing nature's capabilities and making some really good juice from what is essentially just an agricultural product. You know.
Now, you made a decision, I was reading up on this, and Bill touched upon it with your sparkling brut, but, with Pinot Noir grapes and the Chardonnay grapes that just weren't ready and weren't ripe, but you made a decision, hey, let's try a sparkling.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think when you get into the winemaking business, oftentimes the vineyard manager or the owner of the company will plant the grapes that they want to drink. And that doesn't necessarily work at every site. So Bill Heritage had this dream of making a dry, still Pinot Noir, a still red wine. And he'd tried numerous times over the course of a few vintages and just couldn't get the character of the grapes right. You know, it was just far too hot at night to preserve the acidities we needed, and the grapes would just collapse right before ripeness. So I said to him, hey, don't rip these out. Let's repurpose this whole block. Let's make some sparkling wine, see how it goes. So we made some Brut Rosé in 2010, and that was really, really well received. And we made some wine in 13, 14, 15, and 16, and I think you just recently touched
your
on
2014 got great write-up in the Washington Post. Dave McIntyre talking about it stealing the show at this tasting event that was done on the East Coast, and it just won in the New Jersey wine competition as the best sparkling wine in the state. So you have to feel proud about that.
Yeah, one of the things that I really enjoy in terms of wine myself to drink is actually sparkling wine. Champagne is one of the emblematic regions of the wine world, and you sort of try to craft things that you think you might enjoy. Mm-hmm. And sparkling wine is just something that's always piqued my interest.
One of the things people I don't think know is that at one point, because of Renault Winery, when Louis Renault had started and coming over from France, New Jersey was the champagne capital of the United States at one point. Before the turn of the century.
We certainly have the climate for it. You can get really, really ripe flavors and just about the perfect acidity early middle of August around here. Probably a little later up north, but right here, beautiful acidities.
Let me ask you this one of the final questions I want to ask you is what gives you the greatest satisfaction as a winemaker?
I think seeing people enjoy your product, really. Here we are at the vineyard and tasting room, and there's people all around us just having a glass of wine, sharing it with friends.
And you had something to do with every sip that they're taking.
Absolutely. I had a hand in every single product that they taste.
Now, Heritage is famous for their wine club.
Yeah.
And you help select the wines for that wine club.
Yeah, we have a pretty successful wine club. In the beginning of the process of that, we started to think, well, can we make a few wines that we maybe wouldn't have made otherwise? Something in a quantity that we could exclusively give to the wine club. So we have some products like that, and they always get a good first shot at some of the exclusive stuff. They get the first crack at the sparkling, the BDX, that kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, Sean Caminos, thank you for joining us at the Vineyard.
Thank you, Tom.
Continued success.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
We want to thank you. We want to thank Sean and Bill and Penni Heritage for joining us today at the Vineyard Show. And we want to thank you, the audience, for joining us. And remember, become a New Jersey wine ambassador. Drink New Jersey wine, come out to our vineyards, and showcase it. Serve it to all your friends and family. And we'll see you at the Vineyard.